Hello everybody, welcome to Gregsbeerreviews. Let's go see what's in the fridge today. Hey guys, thanks for stopping by Gregsbeerreviews today. Look what we got here. Founders DKML. Seems that Founders has got into the malt liquor. Not sure if I should be drinking this out of the bottle in a brown paper bag, because that's how most malt liquors are drank. And people buy those beers because they're high alcohol and they're super freaking cheap. 32-ounce bottle for $1 and something. And they're usually made with a bunch of crappy ingredients. So I don't know why Founders seems like they need to get into that category. I'm just not sure about that. Because I'm going to read to you what your typical American malt liquor. For the most part, malt liquor beers are sold in the infamous 40-ounce size bottles, 32 to 40 ounces. Straw to pale amber in color. Most use excessive amounts of adjuncts, and as a result there are very few all malt brewed malt liquors. Hops are barely used, just enough to add to balance off any cloyiness. Higher alcohol, which gives off solvent or fuel-like aromas and flavors. They are attenuated very well, meaning a higher ratio of fermentable sugars are present over and still ending you up with a high alcohol content. Some brewers enable the use of special enzymes to further break down the malt and adjuncts, so they are still ending up with a higher alcohol content. For quite a dry beer, only a small amount of unfermented sugars and a kick that will knock you on your ass. And that's why they drink them. They can spend $1 and something for a malt liquor and get their buzz on immediately for less than $2. And I'm not a fan of malt liquors, guys. I have tried those. I have reviewed a couple of them in my younger days. I do not buy them. I do not drink them. The taste is like kerosene. So we'll see what Founders has done with this, since this is supposed to be a bourbon barrel aged imperial malt liquor aged in bourbon barrels. So I don't know. I don't think any of the people that typically drink malt liquor are going to spring for something of this magnitude, because this is a whole lot more expensive than the $1.89 they're spending on their malt liquors that they typically drink out of the paper bags. And most, I'm not going to go into it. This was sent to me. I had two sent to me, one from Mike and one from Brad. They both sent me the same one. They sent me 2 beers each on the packages, and they were the exact same beer from both of them. And I already reviewed one of them, so I didn't get to shout out Mike or Brad. So they both sent me those same beers, and it had already been uploaded. They both sent me this one, so I want to shout out Mike and Brad both for doing that, because I'm pretty sure this is not a cheap beer to buy, even though it's a malt liquor. But it's been aged in bourbon barrels. I don't know why Founders wants to get into that category, but they have. So we'll see what it brings to the table. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be as honest as I can with you guys. If it's a kerosene mess, I'm going to tell you that. And if it's not, I'm going to tell you that too. So probably not something that I would buy for myself, reading the label and it says it's malt liquor. But we'll reserve judgment till we smell it, taste it. Alright, the commercial description says Imperial malt liquor aged in bourbon barrels. Same thing as that's on the label here. As far as IBUs, I don't think I have it. I don't think it's on here anywhere. It doesn't really matter on this. And they've used some kind of crazy font on the back of this, which is very, very hard to read, but it does say 14.2%. Big beer, great big beer. Most malt liquors are big beers. and they're made for one purpose: cheap ingredients, buy it cheap, get shit faced. That's what the malt liquor is. But let's see what this one brings to the table. All right, let's get on with it. There's nothing else we need to talk about, so let's stop talking. Let's get this puppy opened up. A little bit of hiss, a little bit of smoke. Into the glass we go, and I tell you the cuisine is Indian, Latin American, Pan-Asian, general, and any kind of gun grenades you can get to the 7-Eleven store. Probably goes well with all your malt liquors. Glass part of pint, Becker, 90 tumbler mug, Pilsner glass, Poco. I'm using my favorite tulip glass today, guys. And not recommended for extended cellaring. I don't know why you can't. It's a malt liquor, bourbon barrel. I don't know what's going to fade over time or keep you from cellaring it. I've got another one in the closet that I probably am going to sell for a little while, depending on what this ends up tasting like. If it tastes like garbage, I'm going to probably pass it on to the other half and let her have it. So, didn't pour a very big head. It looks like a typical craft beer, a nice amber color, bubbles streaming up from the bottom. Looks good in the glass. Let's get it to the nose. I am getting the bourbon. It's got a very nice bourbon aroma. Other than that, hints of the alcohol with 14.2%. Not getting a whole lot else. So I got a feeling the bourbon is masking everything else of a malt liquor. But I don't think they've used a lot of adjuncts in this beer. I'm not sure. Because that is your typical recipe for a malt liquor. A bunch of rice and corn and adjuncts. But it does have a wonderful bourbon notes. So let's dive in. Cheers everybody. Cheers Mike. Cheers Brad. Decent beer, but basically all I'm getting is bourbon and alcohol. For what this beer probably costs, I don't know. I was not told by either Mike or Brad what a bottle of this. I'm sure it probably comes in a 4-pack and not a 6-pack at 14.2%. If you're wanting a bourbon flavor to your malt liquor, and being at 14.2%, and you're wanting to get in the hammer lane pretty damn quick, I just don't think that the crowd that buys malt liquor is going to spring for whatever one of these bottles are going to cost, or a 4-pack of them. Just my opinion, though. Not getting the adjuncts or the rice or corn or anything, so I'm pretty sure. I'm guessing that they've used quality ingredients instead of putting a bunch of crap in there and then aged it in bourbon barrels. I don't know how long they've aged it for. To me it tastes like first run bourbon barrels, the bourbon notes that I'm getting from it. But just don't see a market for this beer, guys. The crowd that buys malt liquor is not going to spring for this. And the people that drink craft beers are not going to spring for something like this once they've had it and all they're getting is alcohol and bourbon. So I may be wrong there, just my opinion though. Well, let me sip on it for a while, let her taste it, and see what we end up with. Alright guys, I'm back. Got just a little left. I poured half of this into the glass for her, so I've given her a sip 2 or 3. Not what I'm looking for in a bourbon barrel beer. I'm glad that I got to try this. Glad Mike and Brad both sent me one of these, but more than likely the other half or the other bottle that I've got will probably be given to her. This is not what I'm looking for. If you want a bourbon barrel version of a malt liquor, buy you a bottle of bourbon. Go down the gas station and buy you a King Cobra or Mickey's or whatever kind of crappy malt liquor they've got, and pour you some of the bourbon in there, and you're going to basically get the same taste. When I think of bourbon barrel aged, I'm thinking of a stout, imperial stout, porter, imperial porter, a darker beer that those flavors are going to enhance. And this is not it. This is definitely not it. I don't know why founders wanted to jump into that category. It blows my mind that they do, but this is not a beer that I would buy for myself. Because I know it's an expensive beer to buy, and I know they did the quality ingredients on top of that. So you're not getting a lot of corn, rice, or any kind of adjuncts in there. I'm pretty sure they use some quality ingredients, but it's still the same thing. It's a malt liquor with bourbon notes. So, not a fan. I'm just not a fan of that. Like I said, if you want a bourbon tasting malt liquor, get your bottle of bourbon, get your bottle of cheap bourbon, and pour some of that down in the neck of your paper bag with your Mickeys or whatever in it, and you'll get your bourbon flavored malt liquor. So, final chug. For the ingredients they use, which I know they were good, and for the bourbon, it does have a nice taste to it. But it's it. There is no bittersweet chocolate, there is no dark molasses, there is no dark fruits, there is nothing else to go with this beer to enhance the bourbon notes that they've spent time on aging this beer in the barrel. So it doesn't work for me, guys. It doesn't work for me. I'm not a malt liquor drinker. If I was in my 20s, I may think this is a 10 beer, but I'm not. I'm in my 60s. It doesn't work for me. It's like bourbon barrel aging an IPA or a pale ale or something with coffee in it that's going to fade. It's okay. It is okay. Definitely not an A beer in my opinion. It does have the ABV on it, and it does have a bottled on date on it. So with that being said, I'm going to give it to B+. I'm going to give it an 87. That's where I'm going to put this beer. Over to Beer Advocate, they say 86. We're pretty damn close there. We're one number away from that. And over to Untapped, they have it at 3.84, which is in their B+. So everybody thinks it's a B+ beer. For what you're going to have to pay for this beer, it's not worth it, in my opinion. So, but I do appreciate Mike and Brad both sending me a bottle of this to try. They wanted my opinion on it. That's my opinion. You might say, oh my God, it's a 10 beer. It's the best thing I ever tasted. I'm not going to argue with that. If it blows your hair back and you want to get in the hammer lane with a 14.2%, to me, this is a headache beer. Even though it doesn't have the adjuncts or any of that stuff in there. Maybe not give you a headache, but it's high alcohol, and basically all you're getting is the taste of bourbon. And a little bit of alcohol. So, just my opinion though, just my opinion. Not something I would seek out for myself. So, with that being said, that's where we're going to leave it. If you've had this one, this is their DKML from Founders, 2017 edition. Let me know what you think. Like I said, probably not something I would buy. But I am glad I got to try it. So, with that being said, let me know if you've had it. And until we meet again, let's go see what's in the fridge.